Shadow's Light. Shadow had always been a lively dog, half Labrador, half who knows what with a bark bigger than his bite and a tail that wagged like a metronome on high speed. For nearly 10 years, he'd been more than just a pet to the Harrison family. He was their alarm clock, their couch companion, and their unofficial therapist during hard times. But lately, something was off. He bumped into furniture he used to expertly navigate. He hesitated at the top of the stairs. During fetch, the once sure retriever often missed the ball entirely, nose sniffing frantically at empty air. Emma, the youngest Harrison, was the first to say it out loud. "Mom, I think Shadow's going blind." Mrs. Harrison's eyes softened with concern. "We'll take him to the vet tomorrow." The next day, after a series of tests, the vet confirmed it bilateral cataracts. Shadow wasn't fully blind yet, but the cloudiness in his eyes would only get worse. There was a surgery, yes, but it was expensive, and not without risk. Back home, the family sat around the dining table, Shadow lying quietly beneath it, his head on his paws. "I can pick up extra shifts at the cafe," said Emma, already calculating tips in her head. Mr. Harrison sighed. "We could dip into savings, but college, the mortgage." Mrs. Harrison shook her head. "Let's not rush. Let's think this through." Shadow, unaware of the weight of the conversation above him, let out a soft whine. Over the next few weeks, the Harrisons made adjustments. Emma learned to guide Shadow around the house with voice commands. Mr. Harrison built a small ramp to help him get into the backyard. Mrs. Harrison attached soft bumpers to the corners of furniture. Still, things weren't perfect. Once, during a neighborhood walk, a man passing by muttered, "Poor thing. Should have put him down." Emma clenched her fist, her jaw tight. Shadow didn't react. He couldn't see the man, and perhaps that was a blessing. Some neighbors were kinder. Old Mrs. Donnelly from 2 houses down brought homemade dog treats and said, "Blind or not, he's still got spirit." But not everyone got it. Kids at the dog park pointed and laughed when Shadow walked into a bench. Their parents didn't stop them. One even rolled her eyes when Shadow barked at her dog, unable to see that it was play, not aggression. Emma felt the sting of every sideways glance, every whispered judgment. Yet at home, Shadow was still Shadow. He'd find his way to Emma's room at night and nudge her hand until she let him crawl up beside her. He still wagged his tail at dinner time and dozed under Mr. Harrison's feet while he read the newspaper. Eventually, the family decided to go ahead with the surgery. It wouldn't restore perfect vision, the vet said, but it could give him enough to navigate the world again. They pooled their resources, used up vacation days, and leaned on friends for rides and errands. The day of the surgery, Emma waited in the vet's office with her heart in her throat. When the vet emerged with a tired smile and said, "He did great," she burst into tears. Recovery was slow. For the first few days, Shadow wore a cone and stumbled like a drunk sailor. But little by little, his eyes grew clearer. One afternoon, Emma sat on the grass in the backyard, and Shadow tilted his head just so. He took a cautious step toward her, and then another. "You see me, don't you?" she whispered. Shadow barked once, a joyful, bright sound, and bounded toward her, crashing into her arms like he used to when he was a pup. From then on, things changed. The stares at the park didn't cut as deep. Emma met them with a chin held high. "He's got more heart than half the people here," she once said under her breath. And Shadow? He still had cloudy eyes, and he wasn't as fast as he once was. But he could see enough to chase the squirrels again. He could find his food bowl without help. He could look Emma in the face and wag his tail when she came home. Not everyone understood the lengths the Harrisons went to for a blind dog. Some thought it was a waste of money. Others said they were just postponing the inevitable. But the Harrisons didn't care. They knew that love didn't come with conditions or expiration dates. One evening, Emma sat on the porch, Shadow's head resting in her lap. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in shades of fire and honey. A neighbor walked by with his purebred husky, pristine and sharp-eyed. He glanced at Shadow, then at Emma. Is he better? Emma looked down at Shadow, whose ears perked up at the sound of her voice. He's always been just right, she said with a smile. Sight or no sight? The neighbor nodded slowly and walked on. Shadow stirred, his tail thumping lightly. You've still got it, old boy, Emma whispered, running a hand over his soft ears. You never lost it. The world might have gone a little dim for Shadow, but his light never faded in the eyes of the ones who truly saw him.
It's time to learn new words and idioms in context. 1. Be off. Definition: to leave or depart. Also used to indicate something is incorrect or not functioning properly, depending on context. It can also mean to be spoiled or bad, especially when talking about food. Example 1. This milk smells a little off. Example 2. After saying goodbye, she told her friends she would be off to the airport within the hour. 2. Fetch. Definition: to go and bring something back. Example: the dog was trained to fetch the newspaper from the front porch every morning. 3. Say it out loud. Definition: to speak or declare something clearly and boldly, often with confidence, pride, or emphasis so that everyone can hear or understand it. Example: during the protest, people chanted, "Say it out loud. Say it clear. We want justice now and here." 4. Frantically. Definition: in a hurried, anxious, or panicked way, often because of fear or worry. Example: he searched frantically for his passport just minutes before leaving for the airport. 5. Bilateral. Definition: involving two sides, often used in politics, medicine, or business to describe mutual agreements or conditions. Example: the two countries signed a bilateral agreement to promote free trade and cooperation. 6. Nudge. Definition: to gently push someone or something, often to get attention or encourage action. Example: she gave him a slight nudge to remind him it was his turn to speak. 7. With one's heart in one's throat. Definition: feeling extremely nervous or afraid, usually because of something sudden or intense. Example: he watched the final moments of the game with his heart in his throat, hoping his team would win. 8. Cut as deep. Definition: to cause strong emotional pain or impact, as if physically hurting someone, often used metaphorically. Example: her words cut as deep as any wound, leaving him speechless and hurt. 9. Pristine. Definition: in perfect condition, clean, fresh, and untouched. Example: the hikers admired the pristine beauty of the untouched mountain landscape. 10. Under one's breath. Definition: the phrase under one's breath means to speak in a very quiet voice, often so that others cannot hear clearly. Example: when the teacher gave more homework, Jake muttered something under his breath, hoping no one would hear him complain. 11. Perk. Definition: a benefit or advantage, especially one that comes with a job or position. Example: one of the best perks of her job was the ability to work from home twice a week.
Comprehension test, Shadow's light. A. Multiple choice, choose the best answer. 1. What is the main reason Shadow starts having difficulty navigating his surroundings? A. He is getting old and tired. B. He has cataracts in both eyes. C. He is frightened by loud noises. D. He was injured in an accident. Answer B. 2. What is the family's initial reaction to the diagnosis? A. They immediately agree on surgery. B. They decide to give Shadow away. C. They hesitate and consider their options. D. They ignore the problem. Answer C. 3. What best describes the way the community reacts to Shadow's condition? A. They offer financial help for the surgery. B. They are universally supportive and kind. C. Their reactions range from cruel to compassionate. D. They call animal control. Answer C. 4. What does Shadow's response after surgery suggest about the success of the operation? A. He is still completely blind. B. He is fully healed and sees perfectly. C. He regains partial sight and reconnects with the family. D. He becomes more fearful. Answer C. B. Short answer. 5. How does the Harrison family adjust their home and routines to help Shadow live with his blindness? Answer. They guide him using voice commands, build a ramp for the backyard, add bumpers to furniture, and generally help him navigate safely through the house. 6. Why is the neighbor's question at the end, is he better, important to the story's theme? Answer. It highlights how others view disability as something to be fixed, while Emma's response shows that love and worth don't depend on physical perfection. It reinforces the theme of unconditional love and dignity. C. Interpretive discussion, extended response. 7. What does the story suggest about the nature of compassion and loyalty, both within families and in broader society? Sample answer. The story portrays compassion and loyalty as deeply personal and often misunderstood by outsiders, while some in the community mock or dismiss Shadow because of his blindness. The Harrison family remains steadfast. Their actions show that real loyalty means caring for those you love, even when it's difficult. The contrast between the family's devotion and others' indifference emphasizes how true compassion isn't always popular, but it's what defines real character. 8. Explain the significance of the title, Shadow's Light. Sample answer. The title is symbolic. Despite Shadow losing his physical sight, the light refers to his spirit, love, and the bond with his family, which never fade. It also hints at the light the family brings into his life through their dedication, and how he, in turn, brings emotional light into theirs.